Hey there, thanks for being here. It's another beautiful sunny day here in Southwest Florida, and it's the first week of May, which means it's time for my monthly Cape Coral real estate market update video. I do one of these every single month, and these are in addition to the weekly videos I put out. If you don't know who I am, my name is Dustin Guthrie. I'm a longtime resident of Southwest Florida. I'm a near 20-year real estate broker here in Southwest Florida, and I do one of these videos every single week just on good informational topics about Southwest Florida. Sometimes it has to do with real estate, and sometimes it's just good informational stuff on something that's going on here. So if you are interested in Southwest Florida, or maybe you're thinking of moving to Cape Coral or moving to Punta Gorda or moving to Fort Myers or Bonita Springs, wherever here in Southwest Florida, reach over and hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed, because I think you'll get a lot out of these. Just try to create a lot of value with these videos, just in the hopes that when you do need a realtor, maybe you'll remember these videos and you'll think of me and you'll reach out. My contact information is right down there in the description of this video. It's on the screen right now as well. You can call, text, or email me anytime, and there's even a link down there if you want to schedule a one-on-one Zoom meeting in the future if maybe you're not here locally at the moment. So make use of that. I would love to hear from you and hear about your real estate goals and tell you how I can help you. But in regards to this video, I do one of these every single month, and I'm just going to go over the stats and the facts and the figures that the Cape Coral real estate market has put up in the last month. So we're in the first week of May right now. I'm going to be talking about the stats from April. So we're going to go over some of the sales data. I'm going to break some things down by different categories. We'll talk about single family homes. We'll talk about golf access homes. We'll talk about condos and lots, vacant land. And we'll just go over what the market's doing, and also in this video with some analysis and some advice for you if you are a buyer or maybe even a seller in the real estate market in Cape Coral right now, what you should be thinking about and what you need to be aware of. So make sure you stick around to the end for that advice, and let's get right into it. I always like to start these videos off by just showing you for fun what the highest and lowest sales of last month were. So we're talking about April. So let's get right into the highest and the lowest sales of the month of April for the city of Cape Coral. All right, so I always start out with the lowest sales of the month, and this time I'm going to go over both the lowest condo sale and the lowest single family home, and then we'll do the highest single family home, the highest condo as well. And for the low condo for the month of April, it's this little unit over here on Southeast 24th Avenue. It's in the Lockmore condo complex, and it's right there, right on the border of Cape Coral and North Fort Myers, if you know where that's at. But this is a little 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo. It was just over 1,000 square feet, 1045 square feet, a little bit older, built in 1980s. And from the pictures, it looks like there's not a ton of work that needs done here, but maybe it's just a little bit dated and a little bit older. And this one was listed for $139,900. They've been trying to sell it for about 200 days before it went under contract, and it finally did close here at the end of the month in April for $132,000. So anytime you can get a condo for under $150,000 these days in the city of Cape Coral, that's a pretty good price. So congratulations to the buyers on that one. I'm sure they got a little bit to do in there to fix that place up, but got a great buy on it, and it's a nice little unit over there in the southeast. All right, so let's do the lowest home sale in the city of Cape Coral for the month of April. The lowest single family home that sold last month was this one, again in the southeast. This one's over on Southeast 8th Place, 2415 Southeast 8th Place. And this one sold the day that they put it on the market, and there's no photos in here. I can only imagine what the condition of this place is, but this place actually had a pool, and it was a little 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1978 built home, just a little bit over 1,300 square feet. So a smaller home, but it's in that nice country club location over there in the southeast, and it had a pool. So even if it was kind of beat up, this one sold for $200,000. It sold full price, but again, the thing went under contract the day they put it on the market and closed 5 days later. So they obviously got a really quick cash closing on this one, and congratulations to the buyers on this one. If you recall, last month I had the lowest sale. It was one of my listings. It was a foreclosure. This one's not a foreclosure, but last month the lowest single family home that sold in Cape Coral was also $200,000. So it looks like that's been our low point here for a couple of months. But again, congratulations to the buyers and the sellers on moving this property. All right, let's go into the highest sales. These are always a little bit more fun. Let's start off with the highest condo. And the highest condo, again, it's been this way for probably the past 4 or 5 months, is over there in Tarpon Point Marina. If you don't know where that is, it's in the southwest section of Cape Coral. It's just right near Skyline Boulevard, right on the extreme southern tip of Skyline Boulevard. But this was a furnished condo, just over 3,000 square feet. These are huge condos down there. And 3 bedrooms plus a den, 3.5 baths. It was built in 2006. Again, high rise looking over the bay there. And this one was listed at $1,995,000 and sold just in 6 days for $1,750,000. So that's pretty amazing that we're still seeing these, $1 million plus condos selling over in Tarpon Point Marina. There was 4 of these that sold for over $1 million this past month, and this was the highest one. So definitely congratulations to the buyers, the sellers, and their agents on this sale. $1,750,000 for a high-rise condo in Tarpon Point Marina is good to see these higher condos still selling at a pretty regular pace, actually. So with that, let's move on to the highest sale in the city of Cape Coral for single-family homes. And last month, we didn't quite get to that $3 million mark. I think it was the first one. I've been doing these for maybe 6 or 7 months right now. And it was the first month that we did not have a $3+ million sale in the city of Cape Coral, but we're right back up there. There was 2 $3 million plus sales this past month. And this one is in just a really, really cool, tiny little boutique community there, again, in the Southwest, not too far away. It's actually just down the street from Cape Harbor, if you're familiar where that is. But this is a small little gated community. There's only a handful of big luxury waterfront golf access homes in there. But this one on 1531 Hermitage Lane, there in that Hermitage community, was listed at $3,249,000, so just under $3.25 million, and it sold in 10 days. Can you believe that? $3 million plus property sold in 10 days for $3.1 million. This home was just over 4,300 square feet. It was a 4-bedroom, 5-bath. It was actually a 3.5 bath, built in 1997. It's on almost a half an acre there, again, on that really dynamite golf access canal system they have there in the Hermitage. But congratulations to the buyers and the sellers and their agents on this beautiful home sale. It's good to see these sales getting up over $3 million again, because again, we didn't see those last month, but we're back up to those post $3 million sales once again. So great sale. All right, so let's get right into the stats of the market. I always like to start off with just the general residential real estate market as a whole, and then we'll kind of break down these numbers by different category. Again, we're going to do some off-water single-family homes. We'll look at golf access single-family homes. We'll look at condos, and we'll look at residential vacant land as well. But starting off, the total number of residential sales, so anything that's basically a single-family home or a condo or townhome, anything like that, we had a total of 581 in the month of April. 581 sales, so that's pretty healthy. You hear a lot about the inventory, and we're definitely going to talk about the inventory later on in this video. But to have 581 sales is really a good sign, in spite of the fact that we've had 5 straight weeks in a row of week-over-week increases in mortgage rates. So we're still putting up some really good numbers. This is our busy point of the season right here. We're coming to the end of the spring. So these numbers probably won't hold up as we get into the slower summer months. But 581 in the month of April, that's down a little bit from March. March ended up at 608. It was in the 500s when I did my video last month. So there was a couple stragglers there that didn't get posted until after I pulled those numbers for March's video, or for April's video. But yeah, 581. And believe it or not, that's 6% more than we saw this time last year. In April of 2023, we only had 549 sales. So again, our interest rates are quite a bit more than they were this time of last year, and we still sold more properties. So it's healthy to see. Again, I'm not going to hold out too much hope that it's going to last very long. I think our numbers will dip back down based on kind of what you see in this graph. As we get into the summer, it generally slows down. But let's talk about the median sale price for, and again, this is for all different categories of properties. So we're talking about, that $3.2 million property is involved in these stats, as well as that $139,000, $132,000 condo. So the total median price across the board for the city of Cape Coral in the month of April was $399,000, and that is noticeably down from last year. Not by much though, and it's definitely down from 2 years ago. In April of 2022, we were at $439,000. So we're about overall 9.1% down in price in the last 2 years. And you know, something that's important to discuss that I don't hear very many people discussing is, you know, they talk about a coming big market correction. You know, we might be down in price by 9.1%, but you got to consider the fact that we've had 2 heavy years of inflation in there. And, you know, I think the government's numbers are 7 or 8%. So the real rate's probably closer to 10, 11, 12. So when you're considering that the money is being devalued that much, you know, possibly as much as 20% or more in the last 2 years, now you're talking about, in reality, we've had a price correction that's maybe closer to 30%, whereas on paper it just looks 9.1. But again, our money's worth about 20% less than it was a couple years ago. So I always think that's important to keep in mind. We've had a couple years of heavy inflation here, so we may have had a little bit deeper correction already than it looks like on paper. But again, $399,000 for the month of April. It's been pretty flat over the last year or so, but we are down, at least on paper, 9.1% from where we were in April 2022. All right, so let's break these down by some different categories. I'm going to start off with the most prevalent type of property that we have in the city of Cape Coral, and that's single-family homes that are not on the water. So these are not going to be on a Gulf access canal. They're not going to be on a freshwater canal. Just a regular dry lot. I'll include pool homes and non-pool homes, and we'll kind of mention what the difference is between theirs. But let's start off with these off-water single-family homes. All right, so we'll start off with the off-water single-family homes. Again, this is the vast majority of our market. We're very heavy on the off-water single-family homes here in the city of Cape Coral, and in this case, in the month of April, this category represented 68.5% of the total sales on the market. So again, there's 581 total sales last month. 353 of them were off-water single-family homes of all different ages, sizes, all that kind of stuff, pool, non-pool. 353 of those sales, and just up slightly from this time last year. In April of 2023, we had 347 of these sales if you look at this 2-year graph, but we are down from the last few years' high point, which was in June of 2022. We had 449, so we're about 100 sales short of that high point in 2022, and about 50 or so short from April in 2022. So we are down in terms of the numbers of sales. That's to be expected with the interest rates the way they are. Still, I think these are pretty healthy numbers considering where we're at as an economy and where we're at with these interest rates. So it's surprising that we're still seeing a really healthy number of off-water single-family homes sell. Now, in terms of the median price, we're at $368,000. That's our median price for an off-water single-family home. That's for, you know, across the board, whether they have a pool or not a pool. If you want to talk about non-pool homes, the average on that is $339,000. And believe it or not, if pool homes are averaging, the median price for a pool home right now, an off-water pool home, $449,750. I was talking to some folks out of state the other day about, they were asking about putting in a pool and said, you know, am I ever going to get that money back if I put in a pool? You know, your average pool probably now, and I haven't priced it out recently, but probably somewhere around $60,000 to start with, and you can go up from there. But when you consider these numbers, you're getting over $100,000 more for a pool home right now than you are an off-water pool home on average. So if you go put a pool in, a nice pool package, maybe for $80,000 or $90,000, and you know, it looks like you could probably get about $100,000 back on that. So it's still very much worth putting a pool in these days. And a lot of the folks that want to move here, they want their pools, and so, you know, they're paying a premium for that. So that's something good to keep in mind. But again, across the board, with everything taken together, we're at $368,000. We're just down from $370,000 last month, and we're down about 3% from April of last year. So there hasn't been much movement, at least statistically wise, on these off-water single-family homes. And I think when you get into it, I think there's a good reason for that. And I think it's because more of the market is moving towards newer construction homes. New construction homes made up about 42% of these sales last month. That's a lot for new construction homes. When I say new construction homes, I'm taking into consideration basically anything built 2020 or newer. So 42% of these, what were they, 353 sales were built 2020 or newer. That in this case is 148. And we're selling about 50% more new construction homes now than we did 2 years ago in April of 2022. There was only 110 that sold back in April of 2022. So again, more of the market is moving to these new construction properties. These builders are able to offer some significant financing incentives, and I think that's another reason that our median price is staying pretty flat. It's not moving down like we're seeing some of the other categories. I think that has to do with more of these new construction homes selling with these big $15,000, $20,000, even $30,000 seller concessions that they're offering buyers right now. When you're talking about a home that sells for $400,000, it sells for $400,000 on paper, but if that builder is giving $30,000 to the buyer on that one, in reality, it's probably selling for $370,000. But the market doesn't reflect that. The market's going to reflect that $400,000 sale price. So definitely newer properties selling these days. If you look at older homes, homes older than 2020, there's 205, and there's about 39% fewer of these properties selling now than we did 2 years ago. So again, a broader amount of this market is moving to new construction homes over the course of the last 2 years, whereas the older resales are decreasing. And that's where we're seeing a lot of the inventory kind of creep up. These resales are very much a little bit more difficult to sell these days with all these new construction properties and the financing incentives they're offering on that. So keep that in mind. We're going to talk about that here in just a minute. But again, I think some of the reason that we've only seen a 3% drop on this chart in the last 2 years is because more new construction properties are selling with more seller concessions that aren't showing up on that purchase price, at least statistically speaking. So I do think this one, like everything else, is probably down a little more than 3%, but again, just not reflecting that with those new construction incentives. All right, let's get into everyone's favorite category. That's the Gulf Access single family homes. We're of course well known in the city of Cape Coral for our Gulf Access homes. And Gulf Access just means it's on a canal or maybe the river where you can have a boat behind your house and get that boat out to the Gulf of Mexico. So it's a saltwater, most of them are saltwater canals. We've got well over 400 miles of canals here in the city of Cape Coral, and a good chunk of those are Gulf Access saltwater canals. So I know folks are moving here that are really fond of the Gulf Access properties, so let's talk about those. In terms of the numbers of sales that we saw in the month of April, we're still very healthy. We saw 100 Gulf Access single-family homes sell just in the month of April. And again, we're a few up from this time last year. In April of 2023, there was 97. So we've got 3 more this year than we did last year, in spite of the increase in interest rates. So it's still good that we're seeing our market kind of chug along and put up some good numbers in different categories. This category is a little more likely to see cash sales versus financed sales. The off-water single-family homes that we just talked about, that's more of an entry-level product, so you're oftentimes seeing some of those be financed, or a few more of those be finances versus cash. And this kind of product, the Gulf Access single-family home, a lot more of the retirees that have worked their entire career and saved up a nest egg are purchasing these properties, and so they've got some cash set aside to maybe buy a little bit nicer, a little more expensive house. So that could be one of the reasons that we're seeing really healthy numbers, is they're not as affected by the interest rate increases. And again, we've seen 5 weeks of interest rate increases, so it's good to see that we're still putting up some heavy numbers in spite of, I think the average interest rates right now is like 7.5%, 7.8%, something like that. So good to see these numbers. We are still down from 2022. That was our high point, 141 sales, Gulf Access single family home sales in the month of April of 2022. We're down about 29%, at least in the number of sales. If we want to look at the median price, excuse me while I start to sweat. It's been a little bit hotter here in Cape Coral this week. I think all week it's been mid to upper 80s, and today's no exception. I think we're at a high of 88 today, so I'm starting to sweat a little bit. Forgive me. But median price for Gulf Access single family homes, this bounces around a little bit more because there's not as much of a sample size as you can tell on this graph. But we our median price in the month of April was $837,000. That's up from $777,000. So probably the real number is somewhere in between that. That'll kind of bounce around by that, you know, as much as 30 or 60 grand, as you can see at any given month to month. But we are down a little bit. We're down around 8%, depending on where you kind of place that statistical number. We're down about 8% from April of 2022. We're pretty even from last year, but we're down just about 8% from the two-year high that we had 2 years ago. 865,000 is what the average Gulf access home was selling for in April of 2022. Yeah, I'm just going to mention freshwater homes. I'm not going to get into the graphs or anything like that, but if you're looking at freshwater homes, again, we have plenty of many miles of freshwater canals here that don't get out to the Gulf of Mexico. They're very nice properties. You can still kayak and fish and boat behind those. You just can't get out to the open ocean. Freshwater homes average $490,000. So if you're somebody that doesn't need to get on the boat every weekend and go fishing and stuff like that, you don't need to get out to the open ocean all the time, but you still want a waterfront property. I mean, you can get a waterfront home for, gosh, $350,000 less than the average Gulf access house. So maybe a freshwater canal home is right for you. And again, just under $500,000 on average for a nice freshwater home. You know, so that's pretty appealing to the folks that, again, don't need to be on that boat every single weekend. But $837,500 was our median price for Gulf access homes, and again, up from $777,000, but we've been pretty flat all year. We've kind of raised up and dropped down a little bit month to month, but we're down somewhere around 8% from 2 years ago. But again, we've got inflation on top of that, so I think it's corrected a little bit more than it looks like on paper, at least. All right, so let's talk about condos. Condos, if you've watched some of these previous monthly market report videos I've done, condos have been getting beat up in the city of Cape Coral right now, and there's several reasons for that we can get into. But believe it or not, April and March were decent months in an otherwise lackluster year for condos, and we put up 64 condo sales in the month of April, which is pretty nice. We were a little bit down from 73 is what we had in March. But 73 in March was right around where we were this time last year in 2023. And believe it or not, 2023 was the high mark for, at least for median price for condos. That was kind of where our market crested, was 2023, whereas it's the single family homes in many different categories. The high point for them was in 2022. So we actually were a little bit later, about a year later for condos in terms of the high point of the median price. But we have come down since then. And, you know, the 12 months basically from April or May of last year to now have been overall pretty lackluster. But we had a couple decent months this last 2 months. But again, 64 condo sales in the month of April this year. In terms of our median price is down a little bit, obviously from the high point last year. We hit $275. That was our median price for the month of April. It's down about 10% from 2023, but it's up from $250,000 in the month of March. You know, obviously we have a smaller sample size. We're only talking about 64 properties to kind of get that middle ground, to get where that median price is. So you're going to see more fluctuations, and that's why you see on this line graph, it's kind of gone up and down. There was that big dip there in late 2022. That was after the hurricane. So it went down and kind of crept back up, and we had that high point actually back in, I think it was March of 2023. That was at $305,000. So we're down about 10% from that high point at $275. But if you kind of factor in March was $250 and this month is $275, we're probably closer to about 18%, an 18% reduction from that high point last year, maybe 15% from the high point of 2023. If you look at non-waterfront condos, again, these numbers include everything: Gulf access condos, non-Gulf access waterfront condos, non-waterfront homes. You look at the non-waterfront condos, those were about $230,000. That was the average price for a non, so that would be considered entry level as far as condos go, non-waterfront condos. $230,000 for those. If you look specifically at condos on a Gulf access canal, those were at $311,000. But you know, we're seeing a good amount, a healthy number of sales, but they're for mostly lower condos. We've had just a few really high condos that are pulling the numbers up a little bit, but we only had, out of these 64, only 7 of these were above $400,000. And if you heard what I said when we were talking about the highest sales of the month 4 of those 7 sales were above 1 million. So you're talking about only 3 sales in the month of April that were between 400,000 and a million. That's not very many from that mid-high-end condo price that we've seen, because there are quite a few condos out there for sale. We're going to get into the inventory numbers here in a minute in that price range, but not very many condos over 400,000 selling. But again, median price totally across the board, 275. We're probably down about 15% for condos. Just getting a little bit tougher to sell condos these days. The HOA fees are higher. That's mostly for the insurance reasons. Some of the high rises have to do with the new rules that are in place for having structural engineering reports, inspections done every so often. So they're having to sock away some money and some reserves for those that are can be quite expensive depending on the size of the building. But a little bit tougher to sell condos right now, but we did have a couple of good months there, so we'll see how that continues. It's probably going to slow down. Condos are mostly busiest in the winter and the spring, so as we get into the summer, probably going to be looking pretty rough for condos going into the rest of the year, honestly. All right, let's talk about vacant lots, shall we? Vacant residential lots. I don't get into the commercial stuff too much on here. If you have questions about how commercial is doing, I do some commercial real estate business, so you can ask me that on the side. I'll be happy to share those numbers with you. But vacant residential lots in the city of Cape Coral right now, we'll start off with non-golf access. There were a few golf access lots that sold, but most of the lots that sell in the city of Cape Coral in any given month are non-waterfront lots or non-golf access lots. And there was 167 of those that sold in the month of April. Still a healthy number of vacant land sales in the city of Cape Coral. This time last year we had 211, so we are down a little bit, at least numerically, from that from this time last year. And we're certainly down if you look at this graph going back 2 years. 2021 and 2022 was just gangbusters for vacant lots, and so we had well over 500 sales back in April of 2022, and then it kind of calmed down a little bit. We went down after the hurricane, we came back up, and we've kind of been floating around that high 100s, low 200s mark on a month-to-month basis for this previous 12 months. But 167 sales is nothing to shake your fist at. It's pretty good. Now, in terms of the median price for these properties, and again, we're talking about non-golf access single-family home lots, we're at $45,000 was the median price for the month of April. And take a look at this graph. 2 years ago, when we had those 540 or so sales in April of 2022, we're at $46,000 was our median price. We just have not seen much movement whatsoever. Certainly not a statistically relevant number. We're down $1,000 from the last 2 years, but again, it's floated up and down from there. And so our lot sales are still doing pretty good. As far as a category goes, when you look at all of these categories that I'm covering in today's video, vacant land seems to be doing the best, at least to maintain that median price. So $45,000 for non-golf access single-family home lots, at least in the month of April 2024. There were 20 golf access lots that did sell in the month of April, and the median price for those was $248,000. I just want to break these numbers down. Again, I want to talk about the non-golf access lots just because that's the majority of the market here. Most of these lot sales are in the northern sections of Cape Coral. I'm talking about the northeast and the northwest. And I mean, obviously the main reason for that is there's just far more of those vacant lots up there. That those areas of the northwest and northeast haven't been fully developed like the southeast and the southwest has. And many of the areas in the northeast and northwest are also still on well and septic systems versus the central utilities that are in the southwest and southeast. But if you want to break these prices down by north and south, if you look at the northeast, northwest, median price for there is about $44,000, and the southeast, southwest, the median price is about $90,000. So, pretty stark difference. But again, the southeast and the southwest, or vast majority, or in fact all of them, are on central utilities, and the vast majority of the northeast and northwest aren't on those central utilities yet. So I think that's the big reason in the price disparity there. Typically what we've seen is lot values when the utilities do come through with the city's utility expansion project. when the utilities come into an area, yeah, you do get hit with a $30,000+ assessment that's factored into your tax bill over 30 years. But usually your lot value immediately goes up by at least that much. So again, $90,000 versus $44,000 if we're making an apples to apples comparison, which is not quite there. You know, the southeast, southwest lots that with city utilities are on average about, you know, $35,000, $40,000, $45,000 more than the northeast and the northwest lots. But this, again, the southwest and southeast make up about 10%, a little bit less than 10% of the total number of vacant land sales. So the majority of this we're seeing in the northeast and the northwest. That's why our median price is $45,000. Don't expect to go down there in the southeast or the southwest and find a vacant lot for $45,000. You're going to be closer to $90,000 for those. But again, healthy numbers, at least for the last really 2 years for vacant lots in the city of Cape Coral. All right, so we've seen the sales data on those different categories of properties in the Cape Coral real estate market. Now I want to talk to you about what's probably the most important thing that's going on in the Cape Coral real estate market right now, and that's the inventory levels. You've no doubt heard the news recently that the city of Cape Coral, well, really entirety of Southwest Florida, has an inventory problem right now. We're seeing record high levels of inventory. When I say inventory, I'm just talking about properties that are available for sale that are trying to be sold right now. So I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the sales data, and we're going to break these down by category. But let me start off with just the overall, again, stats on the available number of properties. We're talking about residential properties, and I'm going to give you the total across the board. So this is all different condos, single family homes, waterfront, non-waterfront, everything. We are at 4,268 available residential properties just in the city of Cape Coral. That's down just ever so slightly from last month. We were just a little bit above 4,270 last month, so we're down just by a few in the month of April versus March. But I think that's just going to be a temporary kind of respite before we continue to head up. So if you take a look, I want to show you this 10-year graph to put it in context here. 4,268 properties for sale in April 2024 is 152% more than our 10-year low, which was the end of 2021. It was actually December of 2021. And we were really low in December of 2021. We only had 1,696 properties on the market in December of 2021. So we are up 152% from there, but we're up a full 48% just from last year. Last April 2023, we had 2,891 properties available in the city of Cape Coral, and now we're at 4,268, and that really doesn't show any signs of slowing down. We're getting a lot more properties on the market, and we've had a couple of good months in terms of the sales numbers. We've put up some good sales numbers in March and April. I don't expect that to continue as we get into the slower summer months. So it remains to be seen if some of these properties are going to either just come off the market and give us a little relief that way, or if we're going to continue to see more and more numbers of properties available for sale in the city of Cape Coral. If that happens, then basic laws of supply and demand mean we're probably going to have to see some continued softening on prices as we get too many homes on the market, too many homes and condos. But again, 4,268 total residential properties in the city of Cape Coral available for sale right now. That's 152% from our 10-year low at the end of 2021. And let's go ahead and break down these numbers by some different categories, again, just like we did with the sales data. And we'll start off with the off-water single-family home inventory. All right, so off-water single-family homes, that makes up the majority of our market. You saw in the sales data that we went over that was a little bit over 68% of the total sales that we saw last month were these off-water single-family homes. Whether they have a pool, they don't have a pool, whether they're older or new construction, I'm kind of lumping all that together. But if it's a single-family home and it's not on the water, there's 2,414 of those that were available for sale in the month of April. And if you look at this 2-year chart, that's a 95% increase from April of 2022. We only had 1,236 of these on the market in April of 2022, and we've seen a steady month-over-month incline, with the exception of right after the hurricane there, kind of dipped a little bit and then continued to go back up. We've just seen a steady increase for the last 2 years. April of 2023, we had 1,714 of these properties available for sale. So again, we're up 41% just in the last 12 months in terms of the number of active homes for sale right now. When we look at months of inventory, if you don't know what months of inventory is, it's just a term that we use to correlate the number of properties that are available for sale divided by the rate at which we are selling them on a monthly basis. So if you had a community that had 100 active properties for sale and you were selling 10 properties per month, you would have 10 months of inventory. It would take you 10 months at a rate of 10 properties per month to get all the way through those 100 available for sale, 100 properties that are available for sale. So in this case, with 2,414 available properties, it would take us 7 months to get through all of that inventory. We have 7 months of inventory of off-water single-family homes, and that's down from December. December was a rough month. It's usually a slow month anyway, but December this past year was particularly rough, and we were up to 12 months of inventory back in December 2023. But last year in 2023, in April, we only had 5 months of inventory. So if you look at it just in the last 12 months, we're certainly up. Even though our number of sales is up, we certainly have a lot more inventory this year than we did last year. So off-water single-family homes, again, we're a 95% increase in inventory from 2 years ago, 41% from this time last year. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Gulf Access single-family homes. All right, so a similar situation for the Gulf Access single-family home inventory. We're up about 109% from this time 2 years ago in 2022. But we had in April 878 Gulf Access single-family homes on the market, and the 2-year low was back in April of 2022, was 420 homes. So again, 109% based in the last 2 years, and we're up 53% from this time last year, April of 2023, right there on this chart, 573 available homes. So again, 53% increase just in the last 12 months. Going back to the months of inventory, so again, we had a pretty good month for Gulf Access single-family home sales. We sold 100 of them, but we've got 878 on the market right now, so we've got about 9 months of inventory. Again, at the low point this last 12 months was December. We had 17 months of inventory back in December because we didn't sell very many Gulf Access homes at all. So we're down from that at 9 months of inventory, but we're still up from this time last year. We only had 6 months of inventory in April of 2023. So again, 53% increase over the last 12 months, and the 24-month total is 109%. So we're well over double the number of properties that we had in April of 2022, which is obviously not a good sign if you're a Gulf Access single-family home seller right now. Let's move over to condos. Okay, so like I said, I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but condos are just really having a hard time right now in the city of Cape Coral. Even though we had a couple of months where we sold a good number of condos, at least comparatively, the condo inventory has been getting a little bit out of hand, a little bit even more so than some of these other categories. So let's take a look at this chart. We had 512 condos available for sale in the month of April. We're down slightly from February. We had 527 condos on the market in February, but again, if you look at kind of how this has gone over the last 2 years, the inventory comes down a little bit towards the end of the spring, and then it goes right back up as we get into the summer. So I fully anticipate once we get into June, July, August, these numbers are going to go right back up. I don't by any means think we're heading back down, but 512 is a 165% increase from April of 2022. There were only 193 condos available for sale in April of 2022. So 165% increase in 2 years. And there were 327 actually last April of 2023. So we're heading in the wrong direction there. We're certainly about nearly 200 more condos available for sale in April 2024 versus April of 2023. Looking at the months of inventory again, the rate at which we're We're snatching these up. 8 months of inventory in April. Again, down January, we only had 27 condos sell in January. January was a very, very slow month for condos, so we had 18 months of inventory back in January. So we're heading in the right direction there at 8 months of inventory now. But again, condos are very the number of sales are usually very heavy in the winter and spring months, and slower in the summer months. So we're heading right into that slow time of the season for condos. So I fully anticipate those months of inventory numbers are going to come up as we get into next month's monthly market report and the ones going into the summer. So last April 2023, we only had 6 months of inventory, so we're up by about 2 months of inventory. So we're selling a few more properties than we were last year, but we've just got so much more. Again, almost 200 more condos for sale this year versus last year. So condos are taking a beating. If you're a condo seller, you really need to get out ahead of this. It's probably going to be a little bit soft on pricing for the foreseeable future, at least as long as all of these condos are on the market. All right, so let's take a look at vacant lots, and we'll start out with non-golf access lot, the inventory for non-golf access lots. Take a look at this chart. We're going in the opposite direction for vacant land than we are in some of these other residential property categories. Our high point in the last 2 years of this chart was in September of 2022. We had 2,805 of these non-golf access lots on the market. We've got a 26% decrease in the last 2 years from that high point. We only had 2,088 non-golf access lots on the market in the city of Cape Coral. And keep in mind, we're selling right around 200 of these lots every single month. So in this case, we had 13 months of inventory. I know that sounds higher than some of the residential categories, but there's always a ton of inventory of vacant lots on the market at any given time. I think it's just because it's very easy to put them on the market, even if they're priced way too high. You just put them on the market and forget about them. And so a lot of these lots sit out there for 2, 3, 4 years in some cases. So there's always going to be a few more vacant lots out there on the market than traditional single family homes or condos or something like that. So 13 months of inventory. We had 27 months of inventory back in November of 2022, and we only had 4 months of inventory in April of 2022. So we were selling a lot in that spring 2022 season, despite having more properties on the market. So I think that's why you're seeing the prices kind of stabilize on these vacant lots. They're staying the same because the inventory is a little bit more under control than it is in some of these other categories. But let's look at golf access lots. Remember, we only sold 20 golf access lots in the month of April, and there's 428 of those on the market in the month of April. We've got a little bit more on the market now, these golf access lots, than we did a couple of years ago, but it's kind of bounced around, and it's overall somewhat flat in the last 2 years. We had 368 available golf access lots on the market in April of 2022. So we are, what is that? Roughly 60. We're up about 60 golf access lots from this time 2 years ago, but we're down a little bit from last year. Last April 2023, we had 444 of these lots on the market. So again, it's a stark comparison when you look at these vacant lots, whether they're golf access or non-golf access, versus some of these residential categories. We're heading in almost a lower direction, even on the golf access lot inventory. 428 of these for sale. That's 21 months of inventory. Again, it's not a concerning number. We always have a very high amount, especially golf access lots. Again, a lot of them just get placed on the market and they just sit there for 2, 3 years. So 21 months of inventory doesn't scare me like it would in a single family home market or something like that, because we had 60 in December of 2023. That was kind of our high point in terms of months of inventory. 60 months of inventory is a lot by any stretch of the imagination. So 21 comparatively is not too bad, and we'll continue to probably see a few of these lots sell every single month. 20 was a pretty good month for golf access lots. We'll probably see a fewer of those in the coming summer months. Again, golf access is very much like condos, where we see a little bit more activity in the spring and the winter versus the summer. So but I still don't expect pricing to move that much, either on the golf access lot side or the non-golf access lot side. All right, so let's talk advice. So if you're a buyer in the Cape Coral real estate market, what do you need to be thinking of? What do you need to be paying attention to? What is my advice for you as a buyer? Well, you're feeling pretty good about yourself if you're a buyer in the Cape Coral real estate market right now. And this is very clearly a buyer's market. It's the first one we've had in probably 5 or 6 years, definitely since 2019. And so if you are a buyer, you're feeling pretty good about yourself for the first time in a few years. And I still think you need to be not so over exuberant about it. Go out there and negotiate yourself a really good deal. Pit the sellers off one off the other. You're going to get a wider selection of properties. There's over 4,200 residential properties on the market right now. That's why it's a buyer's market. But we're still seeing a lot of good sales numbers. You're seeing more sales this past month than we did this time last year. So you're not going to expect to go in there and whack 15-20% off these list prices. In fact, if you want another stat, the homes that are selling, the properties that are selling, are doing so at an average rate of about 97% of the list price. Now, these homes and condos are having to make several reductions usually before they get to that right list price. But once they get to the right list price, the offer that they're accepting is about 97% on average. So we're not seeing these big 15-20+% discounts off those list prices. So you need to be smart about it. Definitely pit sellers one off the other, because you've got a lot to choose from out there, and work hard to negotiate yourself a good deal, both on price and on terms. If you don't have a realtor and you need somebody, reach out to me. My contact information is down there on the screen. It's also down in the description of this video, as is a link where you can schedule a Zoom meeting if you're not in town, or just reach out and we can do it in person if you are in town. But I would love to hear about your goals as a buyer in the Cape Coral real estate market and tell you how I can help you out, help you find the right one, help you negotiate the best deal possible for yourself. So I would love to hear from you. I hope you do reach out. But yeah, buyer's market. And if you're a buyer, you're feeling pretty good about yourself right now. All right, so if you're a seller in today's Cape Coral real estate market, what do you need to be thinking about? What do you need to be paying attention to? Well, you need to be paying attention to these numbers that I'm giving you every single month. And you need to think about maybe holding off on selling. If you don't have to sell right now, if you can wait a couple of years, you're probably going to be better off in the long run. I really think this is a temporary lull. I'm hearing from so many buyers that are sitting on the sidelines right now because the interest rates are so high. Again, we've had 5 straight weeks of mortgage interest rate increases. I think it's in the mid to high 7%. It hasn't been that in a very long time. And when those interest rates come back down, and they will eventually come back down, we may not get there this year, but probably next year at least. When those get back under that 6%, a lot of these buyers are going to be getting back into the market. When that does happen, these prices are going to stabilize and start to go back up again. So if you can hold off for a couple of years, by all means do so. If you need to sell right now, you just need to be very smart about it. You need to price your property right. You need to get it in the best possible condition to show well. And you need to maybe get a little bit creative on how you market the property. A lot of these new construction home builders are getting creative with their financing. They're buying rates down, they're giving some credits out, and that's why we're seeing almost half of the off-water single-family home market is new construction properties, because they're helping these buyers out where they need financing help. So if you're able to do something creative like that, do it. But you need to get out in front of this. If you don't price your property right now, you're going to be selling your property for less here in 6 months than you are today. More than likely. So if you're in need of a realtor, if you're selling a property right now, reach out to me. Contact information's on the screen right there. I can tell you a little more in depth about what the numbers look like specifically for your property type, and then show you how maybe we can get a little creative with marketing your property and making sure we try to get out as much as possible that we can with the market and the condition that it's in. But you need to price it right. You need to get it looking pretty good. And it's not all terrible. If you have owned your property for more than 4 or 5 years, you're still in a really good position. I mean, we had year-over-year increases, and yeah, you've missed the top, but that's not always so bad. If you sell on the way back down, you're still going to be better off than you were back in 2019 and 2020, at least from an equity position wise. So don't feel too terrible about yourself, but get realistic. Price the property right, do what you can to make it stand out, because there are a lot of others on the market right now. And if you need help with that, I really hope you'll reach out to me. Just give me a call, text, or email, or set up a time where we can meet. But if you're a seller, just be smart. All right, well, I hope you got something out of this video. I know it was a long video, so thank you for sticking into the end, and hopefully you got some good information. If you did, reach over and hit the like button if you wouldn't mind. It really helps me out. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, and about 85% of you that watch these videos are not subscribed, just do me a favor, reach over and hit that subscribe button, because I think if you are interested in Southwest Florida, you're going to get a lot out of these videos that I put out every single week. Again, I do one of these videos every month, but on any given week, I'm doing something, you know, pertinent to Southwest Florida and useful information-wise, whether it's about flood insurance maybe, or maybe it's about something new that's going in Cape Coral. I think you'll get a lot out of being subscribed to this channel. So hit that button, and I hope to see you around in the future. I'll see you on the next video here in just a few days. I've got something working right now, and I'll have you the next weekly video out in just a minute. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.